There are some of us who think that they know what religion is. They have a simple answer. To them, religion is a delusion. Religion is superstition. It's belief in fairy tale creatures. It's nonsense. And I would contend that people who say that about religion are oversimplifying things. And if I'm in a less charitable mood, I would even say that such people would strawman religion. To me, religion, at the core of things, is a relationship, a personal relationship between you and the Transcendental. Now I know what you're thinking. This guy has gone lula. Now he's starting to talk all mystical, new age mumbo jumbo. So let me explain it to you so you understand. It's quite simple, really, that concept. And I don't think there's anybody sane out there who would dispute the basic principle of what I'm talking about. And that is that for all of us as individuals, there is a larger reality out there that goes beyond ourselves as the individuals that we are. A reality that transcends our personal identity. That's what I mean with the transcendental. And religion is a relationship with that larger reality that's out there. Now, to different people from different backgrounds, that relationship is expressed in different ways. And if I, as an atheist, hear a Christian or a Muslim express the way they relate to the transcendental, on the surface of it, it makes very little sense to me when they're talking about Christ, for example, or God, or Allah, or whatever. But at a deeper level it does make sense, because they're talking about their relationship to reality as a whole. And that is something that I can relate to. I can even state, in a way, that I am religious in that sense. And as an example, I would like to remind you of the way Richard Feynman, for example, the great Richard Feynman, related to reality. He's even written books about it, and he titled them things like The Pleasure of Finding Things Out. That was his relationship with the transcendental. That was his way of relating to reality. He wanted to find out more about it. He wanted to find out how it ticked at its deepest level. That was how he related to it. And in a way that wasn't a religious experience as such. And what I've come to understand is that even though Christians and Muslims and Hindus and Buddhists may be speaking a language that is very different from mine, my language, the way I relate to reality, could possibly be best understood by somebody like a pantheist, for example. But even that I don't really identify with as such. But that would be the sort of person who could understand the way I relate to a larger reality. But how I would prefer to express that relationship in purely naturalistic terms, because that is the sort of person I am. That's the sort of attitude I have towards reality. But I can see how the attitude can be mirrored in the way a Christian relates to their God, for example, or a Muslim, or a Hindu, or how a Buddhist relates to reality. They would express it differently. It would sound different. But it's like they're talking a different language, but saying the same thing. Then, of course, on the other extreme, there are the people who talk the same language, but who don't understand this relationship with reality at all. And you have those people on all sides. You have the nut jobs on the Christian sides, for example, the Muslim sides, like the creationists, for example, or the fundamentalists, the literalists, and so on. And you have equal whack jobs, for want of a better word, on the atheist side. And those are people that I will never be able to understand. Even those on the atheist side I will never be able to understand, even though they speak, so to speak, the same language that I speak when it comes to talking about reality. They don't seem to have that same sort of relationship with reality that I experience. And the funny thing is that there are people on the Christian side and the Muslim side that I can identify with more in that regard than some people on the atheist side. So that is why I don't care what you happen to believe in. It is very clear very quickly when I'm listening to you whether you are the equivalent of a cargo culter, which is another great example that the late great Richard Feynman used to talk about. These are people who saw people on their island, military personnel, do things like make runways and towers and so on and so forth, and the planes were coming in, and they thought that they knew what they needed to do to make this happen. So they built their little runways, they built their towers, and they went through the motions. They did all the things that they saw the people do before. But of course the planes never came in, because they never really understood what was behind what these people were doing when the planes were coming in. And that's how I see some Christians relating to Christianity, that's how I see some Muslims relating to Islam, when they're thinking that the earth was created 6,000 years ago, for example, or if they think that the Quran is full of scientific facts. And atheists who keep paying lip service to the mantra of God delusions and religious superstition, but who are basically just engaged in little stupid word games, and who don't understand that they're dealing with other human beings on the other side. And I will identify with those people who are not speaking my language, but who are saying the things that I'm saying, whether they're atheist, Christian, Muslim, or whatnot. And in that sense, I think you can call me religious, even though I am an unrepentant atheist, and that is very likely never going to change. Cheers.